Okay, rent to own. Now, this is a unique way of wholesaling, um, and it's a little bit complicated. So I may not be able to get through all of it in 8 minutes, but I'll kind of explain it to you. So there's a lot of properties that are for sale by owner or they're on for rent, right? Now, this rent to own concept is basically there's tenants out there that are not able to acquire a mortgage because their credit is bad. So what they like to do is they like to rent a property for a certain amount of time until they fix their credit, and then they're in a position to buy the property, right? So now what you could do is you can call sellers and landlords and say, are you willing to rent to own your property? If they say yes, then what you can do, and this is very short form, so we'll have to go into more detail later on, but this is very short form. Once they agree to that, all you have to do is you have to go and find a buyer that's wanting to rent to own. So let's just say, for example, the seller says, I'm willing to rent to own the house. I want $200,000 for the purchase price. I want $2,000 a month rent, right? And I won't want to do it for more than 3 years. You go and you find a buyer and you say, okay, I have a property that I'm renting to own. The house is going to be for sale for $220,000. The rent is going to be $2,000 and it's going to be for 3 years, right? And there's a down payment of $10,000. You guys follow me so far? That down payment of $20,000. So remember, the seller asked for $200,000. You're asking the buyer for $220,000 with a $20,000 down payment. Where's that $20,000 going?
in my pocket.
In your pocket. It goes in your pocket. You sign the contract with these two folks. The tenant is paying the landlord rent. You turn around, you walk away with 20 grand. Okay. Now, 20 grand, I'll tell you, is very hard to achieve because most people in the financial situation where their credit is bad, they're not going to have $20,000 sitting around, right? They may have 5,000, 7,000, 10,000, whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, you're not putting any money into it, but you're walking away with that fee, right? So that's another way you can get into real estate investing without investing any money into the deal. Okay. Any questions on that? I did get through it too. Okay.
Sorry,
So
sorry if I missed it, but did you mention why anyone would want to do a rent to own? Like, what are the circumstances or reasons behind why they would want to do
hang on a
that?
minute. I'm having a hard time with my headphone here. Let me switch out. Say it again.
Did you mention to them
No, no,
why
wait. Hang
anyone?
on, hang on, hang on.
Did
All right, one more time.
you mention to them why anyone would want to engage in a rent to own? Like, why a renter would want to do this? What life circumstances
Why a
would
renter will want to do it or a landlord?
a renter?
So a renter, yeah, we talked about it. So
Okay,
their credit is bad. They're not able to procure a mortgage.
I just wanted to
So
make sure.
yeah, so what they want to do is get a property and purchase it in a couple of years.
Or don't want to deal with a mortgage.
Yeah,
I've
I
heard that,
mean,
right? That people are conservative that don't want to. Maybe that's why.
yeah, but at the end of the day, they're promising to buy the property in a certain amount of time, right? And I'm telling you, like, if you put a bandit sign out and it says rent to own, call this number, your phone is going to ring off the hook. There's
Really?
tons of people that are not able to procure mortgages right now, right?
Hmm.
And as the home prices go up, it's going to get even worse, right? So there's a lot behind how to sell this to a seller because a seller is going to be like, why would I want to do this, right? Like, what is the reason why I want to do this? Well, if they're a landlord and they're renting the property, number one, they remove all of their landlord responsibilities because
Hmm.
essentially they're selling the home on a rent to own, right? So the deal is if it's a rent to own, all the maintenance will fall on the tenant. There's no tenant calls coming in saying that my toilet is messed up because technically they're owning that property. So all the landlord responsibilities go off their shoulder. That's one benefit. Number two, they're having they're having a tenant that's going to remain there for 3 years guaranteed. Why? Because they put that down payment. For them to put that down payment down, it's highly unlikely that they're going to walk away.
Right.
I mean, that's what you're telling the seller, right? But the reality is, there's a lot of people that put $10,000 down, and 2 years down the line, they walk away. It's surprising, but it happens, right? So again, they're getting guaranteed rent or a good tenant. They don't have to have a turnover over and over and over again because these people put skin in the game. They're going to take care of the property better because they're intending to own that property, right? So they're not going to damage the property because at the end of the day, they're going to buy that property, right? So you kind of have to work on these points to sell that to the seller, right? And this is why, these owner financing techniques are difficult, and if you don't work on your sales tactics, you are not going to be successful on it, right? And you're only going to be successful if you continuously practice on it. And these are things that we can do sessions on where we do mock calls and you ask the questions and go through the objections and all that stuff. I have scripts that I'll share with you guys. I have rebuttals to objections that I'll share with you guys. You guys can read through all that and you can do some mock-ups as well. Okay. Any other questions on this?
So usually these type of rent to own scenarios are basically off market, like
No.
or
So you can go to Zillow and you can call people, you can call landlords that are trying to rent their home, right? So they
okay.
put a listing out there saying, I'm trying to rent this house in Naperville for $2,000. You call them up, you're like, are you interested in selling your house rent to own? The first response most of the time is no. And this is where the script and the details on objections, we'll send that to you guys. And when you read through that, you'll kind of see like the flow of conversation. But
Yeah.
you're going to hear no a lot, and that's okay. But again, if you don't have that much money to invest in real estate, this is a way for you to work and get into that. Okay. I think I kind of covered all this stuff here. We had 1 minute left. Um, okay. So if you want to do rent to own, here's some very key points that you need to kind of take a look at. You need to look at the biggest thing is you need to build a buyer list, right? Because once you get a rent to own deal, you have to place a buyer in there quickly, right? So you have to start building that buyers list. And like I said, if you put bandit signs out there on the street corners, you're gonna get a huge number of calls. You're gonna qualify them. And there's a form that I have that gives you all the questions where you can qualify them and get them into your system and save them in your phone or your CRM or whatever the case may be. Once you have that, then you have an idea of these people are looking for homes in Aurora. They want a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house. They can afford $1,200 a month and they have a down payment of $5,000. So now you have the criteria of what you have to go out and look for. So you go on Zillow and you put in Aurora, you look for a house that's within that range. You call and say, hey, are you willing to sell your home rent to own? I have 10,000 buyers or 5,000 buyers or 100 buyers or whatever the case is, that are interested in a home like yours, and you start your sales pitch, right? And try to convince them to do the rental, and that's going to come with practice.